We'd like to welcome everyone. Happy Friday, kind of a dreary Friday here in Charleston. This, of course, is part two of our three-part webinar series on educational topics to help small business owners here in South Carolina. For those of you that missed webinar number one that have an interest in that, we were discussing the second round of the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP Part 2. Certainly, if you have any interest in that webinar, you can find the archive on our website or just reach out to any of us directly. We'd be happy to provide you with that link. Today, of course, we have a special guest, Gerald Auger, Managing Director of Coastal Information Security Group, who has a PhD in this field. So we're really excited to have Jerry here today to discuss a big risk and sadly a risk that is really doesn't have any indicator of letting up anytime soon. Welcome, Jerry.
Yeah, hi, Johan. Thank you very much for having me. And good morning, good afternoon to those of you in attendance. So yeah, today we're going to really be focusing specifically on two of the most prevalent attack vectors from cybersecurity compromise that have massive financial implications for businesses, and that is business email compromise and ransomware. So really quick before we dive in, Johan did give me a brief introduction, but just to kind of let you know who I am and what I do. My name is Gerald Auger. I'm a managing director at Coastal Information Security Group, which is a small Charleston-based specialty cybersecurity consulting firm that helps businesses, particularly small businesses, address their cybersecurity needs, because oftentimes they don't, they're not going to employ a full-time staff to do that. And just to put it in perspective, Oceanside Advisors is actually one of my clients, one of Coastal's clients. And, I want to recognize Johan and applaud the commitment to excellence that Oceanside has for cybersecurity. As I said, they're one of my clients, and I was very satisfied with their cybersecurity hygiene and security posture that I actually put my own personal money in Oceanside's hands. So that level of confidence. So again, thank you, Johan, for doing good work.
I appreciate the plug. You didn't need to do that, but that's
no. I mean, it just, whatever. It's a point. So, I basically have committed my the last 20 years of my life to cybersecurity. I'm a very specialized individual in that really narrow discipline. And today I'll be talking about those two things. So what you're going to get out of this meeting today and what you're going to walk away with is, what are the top cybersecurity threats to your business right today? I've already called them out: business email compromise and ransomware, but we're really going to peel back, the covers on it and look at exactly what it is, why it's so rampant, why there's really no indicators of letting up, sadly, and what you can do to protect your business. Now, this deck is about 59 slides, so I am going to go pretty quick through it, but I want to advise you, all of my contact information is right there. I'm happy to talk about this with anyone at any point. I love my field and I love helping people. So I don't want you to be a victim of either of these crimes, because they're both nasty business. So in today's day and age, as you are well aware, we as a society are hyper interconnected. They're everywhere. The internet is basically everywhere on the planet, which means that anywhere on the planet can get to you, get to your business, can impact you. They can access your email, your financials. They can call you, right? So because of this reality that we live in, yes, there's tons of benefits from being interconnected and hyper-connected, but obviously with all of that comes the opportunity for criminals to really attack you. So you're going to feel that it's big and scary when I talk about it, but stay with me, stay through it. And when we get through the end, you're going to feel like this because you're going to be empowered to take control and prevent being a victim of these two heinous crimes. So really quick, I want to talk about who is perpetrating these crimes because it's really important to understand kind of the psyche behind it. Now, you don't have to read this entire eye chart, but these are the 5 kind of categories of groups of cyber threat actors in the world, right? So when I'm thinking of how I'm defending, I didn't mention it, but I'm also a cybersecurity architect at a medical university of South Carolina. So when I'm thinking about protecting those assets in that business, or I'm helping Oceanside advisors, I've got to be thinking, who's the actor behind it? Because I need to defend appropriately. Now with ransomware and business email compromise, you are looking at nation state threat actors. These are like well-funded, well-educated, well-organized. They're the worst as far as like if they're coming for you, threat actors. Then you have cyber criminals, which is pretty much the majority of what you're going to be dealing with. And then script kiddies, which we'll get into in a second. And these are basically individuals who are not technically capable of executing attacks on you, but they take advantage of tools and platforms that the cyber criminals sell to them in kind of a business to business relationship that allows those, I don't want to call them uneducated, but less than capable script kiddies in order to perpetrate some more complicated crimes. So let's talk about business email compromise first. What is it? Okay. Business email compromise is literally, it like goes under the radar for some reason. Ransomware is like the story in the news every day. I bet you anything, if you Google ransomware, there's a story in today's news. I haven't done it. I would bet money that matters to me that there's a story today of someone getting ransomware yesterday because it's so rampant. But business email compromise, this is from the FBI. It's a $26 billion scam. This is taken from September 10th of 2019. So just, a couple of years ago, and it's only gotten worse, right? But we're talking tens of billions of dollars. This isn't petty larceny. This isn't something that like it happens to the other guy. Like there is huge money to be made with business email compromise, which is the reason why it continues to grow and perpetrate. This is from April of 2020, just a few months later. Business email compromise exclusively looking at cloud-based email. So if you use Office 365 for your email, or you use, Google Cloud, services, right? That's a $2 billion industry for the cyber criminals, right? So they're investing significant money in perpetrating these crimes because it's worth the return on the investment. So how does it look, right? How do they get in? So business email compromise, we'll talk about how it kind of manifests in a few different ways. But at its basic level, I, as a criminal, am going to convince you as a business to give me money in some capacity. It can happen in a couple of different ways. I've got some slides coming up, but I'll just speak to it now. It can happen in a way where I get into your email account using a phishing email, just like the one you're looking at right there. Hey, your email is going to be removed in 3 days. I'm scaring you. I'm pretending to be from Microsoft Office, Outlook, right? Or Office 365, or whatever email platform you're using. You can see that it's from a fraudulent sender, which is your first indicator. But they say, click here for verification. Well, you don't want your email to get shut off. That's how you communicate with a lot of your clients, right? So you click for verification. It pops up an Office 365 login window. You pop in your credentials, username and password. It doesn't really work, but it sends you to another login page. You log in and you're in your Office 365 account. Good. The problem is that you've just given your username and password to the threat actor. What they can do now is log in to your account, and for all intents and purposes, they are now able to send email as you. So just to play it as a realistic scenario, I know Oceanside's a little bit smaller in organization, and this would be less likely to be successful, but this is how it works. I send Johan this email. Johan clicks on this because he doesn't want his email to get disabled, puts in his username and password, feels good that he's done what he needed to do to protect his email from being disabled. I now have his account. I log in as Johan. First of all, I can now look at all his email and see like who he's been doing business with and stuff like that. I can now send email as Johan. there's different types of attacks, right? I email, Todd in accounts payable. Hey, Todd, it's Johan. I need you to send Jerry, Coastal Information Security Group, a check for $30,000. We're doing business together. He was the guy who gave that talk earlier today. Go ahead and send that check. By the way, I'm about to get on an airplane. I can't talk to you right now. Right? It comes from Johan. It looks legit. Everything about it lines up. And the criminal just looked at the old emails and sees correspondence between me and Johan talking about setting up this event. Why would Todd in accounts payable think twice about questioning Johan? That's how it perpetrates, right? There's other ways, but it starts with phishing emails. Usually there's other techniques, right? Here's just another example of a phishing email. Looks legit. They're scaring you. Hey, looks like someone actually logged into your account. You can see that it's a fake URL, probably not real. They click here to fix it. Again, phishing emails are all about scaring you, enticing you, or giving you a sense of urgency that you need to do something quickly and not think through it. Another kind of common approach is like the fake invoice emails. So, hey, you haven't done business with Xero, right? But you got an invoice for Xero. If you're a small business, you're probably the accounts payable, the billing department, the management group, and the client service person, right? You're wearing many hats. So when you get this invoice, you're like, I didn't do this. So when you click on any of those hyperlinks in here, it's probably going to take you to like a phishing page of some sort. Or they'll say, hey, attached is the invoice for the services that we provided. Now, you didn't provide any services. So you may open the attachment to see what is this? And especially if you're a slightly bigger organization where you have people who are empowered to take action on behalf of your business. So let's say Johan he gets this email and he's like, hold on, maybe Patrick did some business with Xero. Let me open the attachment to get more information and see what it is. The problem is the attachment is likely a Microsoft Office document that is laced with a macro-enabled virus. You don't need to understand all that, but what you need to pull out of that is when you launch it, if you enable macros, your computer will probably tell you disable macros. The attachment is probably going to say you should enable macros because that's what the criminal wants you to do. It's going to run code on your computer, which is going to cause problems, right? At that point, they don't need your credentials anymore because your computer is literally going to reach out to the criminal and they're going to be able to come into your computer directly. And now you've got a much bigger problem than just a compromised email account. Okay, I'm in, right? I'm the criminal. I'm in, whether I got your credentials or I hacked into your computer effectively. I'm in. What do they do next? Now, I've already kind of told you one example, but here's something I want you to take away, okay? A lot of times these business email compromises, it's not smash and grab. It's not like the movies. Ransomware is more smash and grab. We'll get to that. Business email compromise, what they do is they log into your account. Now I'm in your email. And I can access your email from anywhere because it's cloud-based, right? I log into your email. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set, I don't know if you've ever done this, but you can forward your email to another email account, right? So maybe you have a bunch of different email accounts and you just forward them all to one central email account for your convenience. The first thing criminals do is they set a auto forward for all email, both inbound and outbound. You can set outbound as a rule, but anyways, to their controlled email account. So now you get a notification that there's been some weird activity on your account or an unauthorized sign-in, and you look at it and it's coming from Minimar. Okay, I'm going to change my password because that's what Jerry said to do, which is true. You should change your password if it's compromised. The problem is you've got auto forwarding set up. So every email communication that I send to Johan and Johan sends to any of his clients, the criminal is getting a copy of all of them. So now they have a full picture of how Johan is doing business. Sorry, Johan, I'm using you as the victim in all these examples.
That's okay.
Right. So now check this out. If I call you, so I see all these transactions, I get a vibe. I understand that Patrick works in account payable because Johan emails him all the time about doing something with vendors or for pricing or for billing or whatever. So I know that they're doing a deal with BB&T Bank. I know that Johan's got a massive opportunity with BB&T coming up. BB&T is going to, Johan's going to pay BB&T, whatever, 10 grand for him to get access to something, right? No problem. I've got all these emails. So all I do is I call Patrick because his number is in his email block and say, hey, Patrick, this is Jerry from BB&T. We're about to close that deal, but we've had some updates on our side. You know how management is. We're rebranding, whatever. We've got a new account number. Can you just change the wiring instructions to our new account number so that can be done? Yeah, here's the account number. Right. So now that's it. I seem legitimate because Patrick's expecting a transaction with BB&T to happen today. I've jumped in and updated it, and now Patrick wires the 10 grand, 30 grand, whatever it is, directly to the criminal, thinking none the wiser. So that's one attack technique. Another is where you're seeing all this email traffic flowing. You're grooming them. You're understanding. I know that Johan is looking to do business with a bank for some reason. In this scenario, I'm making up on the fly. Right. So I call Johan and say, hey, Johan, this is Jerry. I'm the president over at Coastal Banking. We're a smaller bank, but we're just reaching out to some local businesses in the community to talk about an opportunity that we're offering to offer services to whatever it is that Johan's currently looking for. I pitch it as that's what I'm selling. And Johan's like, oh, this is great. And oh, by the way, I know Johan's paying BB&T 30 grand because I've seen all his emails. We're doing it as a special just to get some new clients and kind of build up the book of business. We're offering it for $12,000. We normally charge $35,000, but we're doing 12. Oh, wow. Okay. So let's do that. So now I don't own a bank. I don't offer this service. I don't do anything, but Johan and I now do a business transaction, and literally I don't even need to fake the account number and get Patrick to change it, because literally I just give you my wiring instructions. Send it over as soon as you pay. I'm going to go ahead and unlock the platform, or I'm going to do whatever it is that I said I'm going to do. And then you just wire me your money, and it's a straight con. Okay. This is how these business email compromises can also do for a more immediate impact. So the two examples I just gave you are they're bigger, right? Those are usually like multi-million-dollar transactions that you're going to rob the person on, because it requires more effort, right? The more effort the criminal puts into it, the more energy, the larger the payoff. Usually they do this as well. Get into your email, or they'll send a fake email and make it look like it's coming from someone and say, hey, you got a minute? I need, by the way, I can find on LinkedIn who your accounts payable person is. If you're any size business, right? I know who works there. Hey, it's me. Can you, you got a minute? I can't talk right now. I'm in a meeting, or I'm in a talk, or I'm in line at Starbucks and I'm not going to get on the phone. If that person replies to this, they immediately say, yeah, hey, it's Johan. I'm meeting with, Jerry at Coastal. Hey, can you just order me a $50 Apple gift card? I want to give it to him as a gift. I want to give him a gift because he did good work, or because I want to entice him to do business with me. And that person will go buy an Apple gift card and send the scratch off number on the back directly to Johan, which is actually the criminal, right? So this is how it manifests, right? Here's just another kind of workflow showing it, where I'm posing as someone I'm not and convincing you to send me money, right? I mean, this is literally what it is. It's straightforward. Of course, criminals make up, for that banking example, I might create a fake bank website, a fake LinkedIn page, etc., just to further validate the con, if you will. OSINT, open source intelligence, there's a ton of it, right? There's a whole discipline in my field called open source intelligence, and it's basically doing reconnaissance on your target. These criminals, for business email compromise, I started at the beginning. It's a hundreds of millions of dollars business. They do their due diligence. They find their targets, either soft targets or wealthy targets, and they use the power of the internet and all the things that come with it in order to do this. There's a lot of stuff publicly available, public tax filings. Counties have tax assessor offices that you can look up stuff. Okay. Social media, right? A lot of people are promoting their brand. People are promoting themselves, like, oh, hey, I've got 10 years of experience as a financial advisor. I've been working at Oceanside Advisor for the last 4 years. All right, well, I know they work there. I can start building out an org chart of the business, understand who works where, understand more importantly, who to target. Like, Johan works at Oceanside. Yeah, but he loves hockey. So why don't I send him a phishing email pretending to be the Charleston Stingrays, offering like free tickets or free whatever? Johan's going to click on it because he's got a personal interest in it. But I get that because he posts that he was at the Stingrays game last week because they were honoring him because he used to play there, right? Simple. I mean, that's what I would do if I was going to target him. One of the many ways I would target him. Okay, so here, this is just another indicator of kind of grooming. This is the transaction or the crime where they don't actually have, they don't compromise the email. They're just fraudulently faking a business to do a financial transaction. All right, so you're lost in the sea, right? I've laid out how these criminals are just going to pwn you, right? So what do? First, anytime you get any kind of email correspondence, whether it's the phishing email saying that you got 3 days before your account gets disabled, or there's a fraudulent charge on your Amazon account, verify that it's true, that the sender, if you have to, don't click on the link in the email. Don't ever click on links in email. If it says there's been some weird activity in your Amazon account, right? As just an example, go to Amazon.com and log in. Look, don't click on the link. The link is bad. That's how they get you. Okay. Same with calling your financial institution. Like it, or hey, I email you and say, hey, I need you to change the accounting numbers. That should be a red flag. You should say, yeah, no problem. I'll do it. Hang up. Call the client back. Call the business back. Like the legit business. Now, part of the problem is if this is the fraudulent business where they've set up this entire ruse, you're going to call them back and they're going to verify that it is in fact correct. And like that's a different crime, right? So that's more about figuring out that they're not a valid business or verifying through some intermediary that that's a legit business. Who have you done business with before? Like, where can I see this? Like, is it someone I know before we actually met? Because obviously if I was going to give referrals, I would just have my buddy who I'll give 30% of whatever I steal from you to say that I did business with him last year and that I'm great, right? Gift cards, I already kind of talked about gift cards. Criminals love gift cards because you can't like get the money back. Like once they get the code off the back of them, that's it. They will ask for hundreds of dollars of gift cards. And it's not really unrealistic when Johan or the CEO or the business owner or whatever messages someone and says, I need some gift cards because I'm trying to like give some gifts at a talk or this talk right now, right? Hey, Patrick, can you go out and get $500 worth of gift cards? I'm going to do a giveaway during Jerry's talk today about business email compromise to 5 different people. Go ahead and do that and send it to me so I can do that. It's all fraud, right? So gift cards, wiring money, you should be on your radar. Multi-factor authentication. This is the single most important thing you can do for your business. Literally. This is when you enable it. So when you log in with a username and password, it asks you for something else, right? A text message sent to you, 6-digit rotating PIN, whatever. If you don't have this enabled, like seriously, this is the one thing that I beg you to take from this talk. If you don't have this enabled on your email and your financial accounts, that should be the first order of business. Like I should even hear like tires squealing as you're peeling out from this talk right now to go set this, because this will save you. If they get your email password or they can log in as you, this will stop them from successfully moving forward. It's super critical. Obviously, if you get messages from from your banking institution or anyone that you do business with that account numbers are being changed or that passwords are being updated and you didn't do it, that's a red flag that something's wrong. That's an indicator of compromise that you need to address. All right, so let's switch gears here to keep it going. I know we only have 6 minutes, right, Johan? It's a 30-minute talk.
Yeah, it was supposed to be, but there's quite a few people on here that I think might be enjoying it. So
okay, well,
don't rush it. Don't rush it.
All right. Well, I'm happy to speak as long as I can. Like I said, I love this topic and it's very important. So if people don't mind staying over the 12:30, let's do it. Okay. So let's switch gears from business email compromise to ransomware. Now, ransomware, like as much as business email compromise is like the silent shunned scam or like cybercrime, even though it's like hundreds of millions of dollars, ransomware, I think everyone on this talk or in attendance has heard of. I mean, literally, it's every day in the news. Yesterday, Kia Motors, the huge automotive manufacturing company, all their plants in the United States got ransomware. Kia Motors is not making cars today. because of this. This is how seriously impactful ransomware is. Maersk, have you ever heard of Maersk? They're like the largest logistics supplier. They have all the boats with cargoes and stuff like that. A lot of logistics. When do trucks need to pull up, get the cargo off? Their entire global organization got ransomware 2 years ago. It was hundreds of millions of dollars in negative impact. So ransomware is no joke. Like ransomware sinks small businesses because they can't recover from it. What is ransomware? The classic model of ransomware, because it's evolved, is where a threat actor, you may have encrypted files in the past to keep it secure, right? So I'm going to email Johan some personal financial information. I'm going to encrypt it because that's secure. No one else can see it but Johan. Perfect. Well, cyber criminals have utilized this technique and technology for malicious intent. What they do is they install malware on your computer, which then literally encrypts every single file on your computer except for your operating system, so your computer can still boot up, but all your data, right? This includes all your business documents. There's been instances where like all of your personal photos, if you use your work computer for your personal stuff as well, everything gets encrypted. You have access to nothing, okay? This includes applications, by the way. So like Zoom, that doesn't work anymore. Microsoft Word, that doesn't work anymore. QuickBooks, later. All of it's encrypted. Now, they will decrypt one file. It'll be on your desktop and it'll say, read me, or what happened. And when you open it, they basically say, everything's encrypted. You send us 30 grand, 50 grand, 200 grand, $1 million, whatever they want. And we'll send you the keys to decrypt it. Now, it's like 50-50 chance they even send you the keys, but that's basically the attack vector. Now, they've evolved a little bit where, in addition to maybe selling you access to the keys, they'll also, depending on what kind of data they get, they'll auction it off on dark webs in like an eBay style thing where they say, hey, I got these financial records from Oceanside Advisors. Great clients in there, a lot of wealth. I'm selling full access to it. And you can sell it multiple times, right? Because it's data, you can copy paste it, right? So they'll sell it for like, an eBay style or like $500 a rip. So now they're getting money from you to decrypt it and money for selling it on the dark web. Some people won't pay it, right? So you'll see situations like this. This was like last year, May 2020. New York City Attorney's Office, or a New York attorney group, whatever, like high A-list profiles, because celebrities and politicians and stuff, they all have to use lawyers for stuff. They got breached with a ransomware incident. They said, I'm not going to pay that. No, like we'll go to backups, no big deal. Well, so then the Sodinokibi group, who there's different ransomware groups, they said, that's fine. If you don't pay our ransom, we're going to start releasing it. And they had some celebrities in there. I think Donald Trump was actually in there. Some like musicians were in there. And they started publicly disclosing that this company had poor cybersecurity and that they had allowed the data to be encrypted and they refused to pay to get it back, which means they don't care about your information. So first of all, company reputational damage. And then on top of it, they were releasing like Cardi B's financial records for 2019, right? So now the celebrity's mad, like people are obviously interested because it's celebrities. So the story ramped up, so there is that type of shaming going on as well. Now here's where it gets gross. Okay. So I talked earlier about script kiddies, right? So ransomware is so successful, and I actually have a link here, right? This is projected for 2021, $20 billion. This is super easy to commit ransomware, and it's super lucrative. So I'm a threat actor. I've got this platform, and it's awesome, but it's a lot of work for me to like find, groom a victim, get the malware on, encrypt all their stuff, handle the transaction. It's a real pain in the butt, but it makes good money. You know what I could do? I could sell this as a service, and that's what they do. So they sell it as a service to these guys right here. These are script kiddies in the middle. And they say, hey, script kiddie, I'll tell you what, I've got this whole platform. You give me 30% of any ransom that you collect, and you can use my platform. And literally all they have to do is put in an email address and put in an amount that they want the ransom to be. So I just put in J. Kroll at Oceanside Advisors. I put in $10,000. Oh, by the way, they do their due diligence and make sure, like if I asked Johan for $30 million, he's not going to give it to me. If I ask Johan for 10 grand, he might give it to me. If I ask CVS for 10 grand, they're instantly going to do it. But I can ask CVS for like $8 million and I might get it, right? So they do their due diligence. They make the ransom painful but reasonable for you to consider doing it. And literally they just hit fire. Like you don't have to understand how it works. You don't have to do anything. Literally the infrastructure, the management, the call center, they have call centers for you to call to figure out like how to open a Bitcoin wallet. Like the criminals are very, very enterprising. And you can't call and be like, I hate you, like give me my stuff back, because it's a call center person. They literally have just been given a script to read. They're not even part of the crime. They're literally just a paid call center. So this has caused an explosion of ransomware. So that's why it's in the news all the time, because it's super easy. It's very difficult to track because it uses cryptocurrency, which is not, I mean, you can trace it somewhat, but most of the time, I heard a report on Monday last week that the average like big ticket kind of ransom goes through 270 different wallets before being cashed out. So they make it very, very difficult to kind of track down who did what. It's so lucrative that GanCrab, which was one of the really successful ransomware threat actor groups last year, setting up this ransomware as a service platform, that they literally announced, this is when they joined in 2017. This was from 2020, like early 2020. They announced that, hey, we've successfully made $2 billion through our affiliate program, which is this ransomware as a service platform. And they personally have collected over $150 million and they're retiring. Literally, these threat actors had a number. What's the number going to be for you to retire? 150 million. They hit it. I mean, this is almost taunting. They posted this in like a very much a taunting way, but this is what I'm talking about. Like this was two individuals, and I think they've actually figured out who they were, but they can't get them because they're in a country with no extradition. But the point is, this is real money, and it's your money, frankly, right? So I already mentioned this. It's very easy to get the money to them because it's crypto. It's tough to trace, and it's a multi-billion-dollar. And by the way, you might notice it's going up. There's very little stopping this, very little, except, we'll get into how to stop in a minute. Forgive this for being a little fuzzy. I do want to call out the industries that are more impacted. So if you look at all the stories, no industry is immune, right? So sorry, Johan, financial management, you're not immune. But financials are actually the one industry that pays the most money and the most attention to securing their assets and securing all the data and stuff like that. So you guys are usually pretty well protected. But government, municipalities, they're often victimized, manufacturing, and healthcare. And part of the reason why is because these industries specifically, they are underfunded, right? So think about a city municipality. On Wausau in Jacksonville, North Carolina, a couple years ago, it's a water municipality. They were ransomwared. Baltimore, the city of Baltimore, a couple years ago, ransomwared. Atlanta 3 years ago, ransomwared. I mean, it brings the city down. People can't, you can't do anything. You can't pay your taxes. The city cannot function, right? Unless you pay the ransom, which is why it's so enticing. And then you've got, for example, citizens or management saying, we're losing money by the minute, or we can't service our clients by the second. Like, we need it. Like, just pay the ransom. This is why it gets paid, right? Manufacturing, they run a lot of end-of-life software. Healthcare, where I work, also is pretty popular because, like, if someone's in need of medical care immediately and you can't give it because of ransomware, it's really tough to say, I let that patient die because the machine that pushes drugs to them to keep them alive was ransomware and we didn't want to pay the ransom. It was too much. Like, it's very tough to make that argument in a, philosophically speaking, right? I mean, so what happens if it happens to you? So this is on average for a business. If you get ransomware, on average, it takes you about a week to recover fully from it. That's even if you just pay right away. Like, it's bad, right? So it's about a week. And on average, now these numbers are from last year, so it's gone up a little bit. But again, I emphasized earlier, the attackers typically will groom the ransom to map to the business's capability to pay the ransom. They don't want to ask for too much because they know you won't pay it. They're trying to find that sweet spot. But on average, it's about 55 grand a ransomware incident. So what does it look like? I'm just going to go really quickly through these screenshots, but you can see this is the documents library. These files are all encrypted. See how this is the Locky ransomware. These files are useless. You can't do anything with them. Like the Chrome application, this could be Chrome right here. And they've put their instructions on how to play the Bitcoin right there. This is from the GAN Crab, the folks who retired with their $150 million. They've got a little pop-up that comes on your screen that explains to you how you can connect with them to get the decryption keys. Very, very convenient. Here's another one on how to email them, right? So this email is literally built just for this purpose, and then they'll destroy it when they're done. You might have backups, right? So that's a really good strategy. You should be backing up your sensitive, important data. The problem is some variants of ransomware understand this, so they will find your backups first before they deploy the ransomware. So like literally, they'll drop on your machine. They'll have a piece of malware that looks for everything. Then they'll encrypt everything at the same time. So all the computers get encrypted at the same time and your backups. So then you can't restore from backups, more likely to pay the ransom. So how do you prevent it, right? Well, I told you earlier, phishing emails is very important to keep an eye out for. Another really important thing, and super easy to do, I know it's inconvenient sometimes, is to patch your systems, right? I know it sounds trivial. You would be stunned if I told you how many places I go that they don't patch their systems. I'm in the middle of working on this. I can't do it. I'm using my phone. I don't want to update it, right? And it's not just workstations, right? You have to patch your devices, your tablets, your iPhones, your laptops, even applications, right? So Zoom, for example, we're using Zoom right now. Zoom's an application. It can have its own vulnerabilities. There are updates for Zoom. They usually force them on you, which is great. But my point is, software, operating systems, they all need to be patched and maintained, okay? It's huge that you do this. This is one of the ways that attackers compromise your machine and then drop malware on it, ransomware. Again, multi-factor authentication. I can't emphasize enough how important it is. If they can't get into your accounts, they can't like move around and trick you, right? They can't log onto your systems and drop malware that way. So if you are a business, you may want to invest in EDR solutions, endpoint detection and response. This is starting to get a little bit more complicated, but like think of it as antivirus software, except like next level, right? So this will detect something's going wrong on your computer, like ransomware, and stop it. So you might only get a few files encrypted instead of your entire hard drive, or worse, like network drives and stuff. Email gateway. So this is like if you use Google or Microsoft Office 365 for your email, they actually have like, you don't even see it, but an email gateway is basically screening bad email that it knows about from getting to you, right? So you never even see the phishing emails. If you're not using something like this, then you're getting these phishing emails. There's great solutions. If you are a business, you can invest in an email gateway solution that will do this screening for you. And typically, the good ones are like threat intel fed, which means that, if their entire client base, if Johan is a client of the same email gateway service provider as me, and Johan gets a phish and reports it, then immediately the gateway gets updated and the same phish coming to me gets blocked, right? So it's well informed, it's up to date. Those are the good ones. So look for that. You basically just don't want to get the phishes. This is a strong advice, right? So this is set it once and it's good forever. This is called like an email banner. This is email from an external source, okay? Like you configure this in your email server, so you can have an IT person do this, or I can help you with it. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel on exactly how to do it in Office 365 if you want to watch that. But basically, if an email comes from outside, it'll automatically put this on. So if I fake an email that looks like it's from Johan going to Patrick, or it's coming from you going to someone else in your company, asking them to do something or log in or whatever, and it has this banner, that's a telltale visual indicator that this email is not in fact from an internal person, and it's actually from an external person posing as an internal. So you set it once and all email will have it that come from external. It's huge, huge win. If you are like more of a client service business, have a separate guest wireless. You should never have non-staff on your wireless network. If you're using a wireless network, if you have your data running around on a wireless network that untrusted people are allowed to connect to, that's terrible. I could do a whole talk on this, but let's just say I may or may not have in my younger life, like just sat at Starbucks and like sniffed traffic and pulled people's username and passwords out of the air, or sat on the train going into Boston when I used to work there and just sit there. Like, it's so easy to just look at the wireless network traffic and grab it out of the air. There's tools that do it. So my point is, you don't want people you don't trust on your wireless network. Okay. Awareness training, besides multi-factor, which is a technical solution. I know this sounds trivial, right? But awareness training, this is awareness training. Informing your staff of what risks are and how to like identify them is huge. I can't tell you how important awareness training is. If you have people in your company that know what a phish looks like, or know that business email compromise is a thing, then when they get the email about, hey, can you grab some gift cards because I'm in a meeting, you can't call me, like their antenna goes up because they know about it. You have to educate your entire staff. That's one thing that like a lot of people get confused about. InfoSec and IT are two different disciplines, right? Yeah, there's a big technology piece to cybersecurity or information security, but there's a whole other kind of administrative operational piece to it. And if you're not, if these employees right here in this picture think that it's my job to secure everything and that they don't need to worry about it, that's a mistake, because they are part of the team that needs to secure. It's literally everyone's responsibility. Yeah, I do the heaviest lifting, but they need to know what to look for, because they're going to be targeted. Because to be honest with you, I would much rather target this guy in the checkered shirt over here than target me, because I know what to do. This guy works in marketing. I can get him to click on something wicked easy. Okay.
And just on that point, Jerry, like, if any of the viewers here, obviously we'll have a recording of this archive, and if this is something you want to share with your staff, we'd be happy to provide that for you. So you can just reach out to my email, or info@oceansideadvisors.com. We'd be happy to provide that for you.
Yeah. Really, it's a good point. I'd strongly encourage people, like, you could ask your staff to spend 1 hour watching this, and it could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, trust me, like, I've dealt with enough like incidents, like bad stuff happening, that like when it happens, you feel victimized and you're like, how the hell, like, how could I have, like, how did this happen? I don't want this to happen. I would do anything. And that's why you see when companies get breached or have ransomware incidents, like Equifax just had, or Equifax had a different breach, but you'll see, I bet you anything, Kia Motor Cars, who I just mentioned, had this massive breach yesterday. I bet you, not that you would look, but I bet you anything, in like 3 to 6 months, they're going to have a ton of open positions for cybersecurity. Organizations always ramp up wicked hard after they suffer a breach on cyber, because they overreact to the problem, when really they should have just done preventative measures, and it would have saved them a lot of money and a lot of pain. Okay, so awareness training is wicked important. That's all I'll say on that. Okay,
you're playing. Everyone knows you're from Boston now.
Yeah. Well, please.
That was like 4 wickets in 30 seconds.
Well, I know. The thing is, I'm super passionate about cybersecurity, and I feel strongly that it's so important for people to understand their part of the picture, that I kind of slip into my less professional and more Boston personality, I guess, or letting my true colors shine. So, yeah. So if you do have kind of, maybe you outsource your IT, maybe you're really crazy and you outsource your InfoSec as well. Ask your IT people or your InfoSec people, like Coastal, right? But ask your IT people to look into vulnerability scanning, pen testing, phishing campaigns, these type of things you can use to help protect you. Vulnerability scanning literally looks at all the machines on your network and tells you if there's problems with them. Instead of having someone like root around and look around, like I've been on engagements before where I did a scan and found stuff that they didn't even know was there. I'm like, what is this? This thing's looking out on the internet, and they're like, like Tim set that up, but he left. like things that are like open gaping holes. Imagine having your house, your own house, and the guy who lived there before built a door that you don't even know about that goes into your bedroom, right? Like, I mean, it's silly to think that you wouldn't notice a door, but like when you're talking about technology, you don't see it with your eyes like that. So that's exactly what vulnerability scanning will do. It'll tell you where your misconfigurations are, your out of patches, and it'll also identify your assets. Okay, so check that out. Another really good, valuable thing is cyber insurance. I know people think that insurance is boring. You can get a pretty good rider on cyber insurance on your business insurance for like, you can get like $1 million policy for like $1,000, right? Call your insurance provider, find out. But if you recall earlier, I said the average ransomware incident is 60 grand and a lot of heartache. If you have cyber insurance, oftentimes it'll pay for the ransom itself, right? So you can pay the ransom if you're comfortable doing that. Some people don't want to do it because you're basically funding terrorism, but so you can pay the ransom. You're going to have lawyers involved. You're going to have to notify people that their information was compromised. That costs money. You might have to have a call center. There's like ancillary costs that you may not be thinking of. Oh, by the way, you're probably going to hire an information security company to come in and fix whatever the problem was that led to the original compromise, right? So there's a lot of expense that goes into suffering a cyber security attack, especially a ransomware attack. So insurance can pay for that, which is fantastic because for $1,000, you can get all of that covered. And a lot of the cyber insurance companies actually provide, they're called breach coaches, but they actually have full service staff like my company can be on retainer with an insurance broker like Beasley. And then when Johan calls his insurance company and says, hey, I'm in the middle of an incident, something's wrong here. They say, don't worry, Johan, we'll take it from here. And then they call me and I get dropped into the situation and start fixing it. And then I charge back to the insurance company, right? So cyber insurance is cyber insurance is a very affordable option. I do not recommend that you get cyber insurance and just throw caution to the wind and say like, who cares? Like if I get breached, no problem. I spent $1,000 to cover my butt. No, don't do that. Insurance is help make you whole, but you really don't want to suffer a breach. Go back to the shaming and the down business time, reputational damage. If you do have a compromise, disconnect that machine from the internet or from your network immediately because most ransomwares will start moving laterally to infect more machines. Have backups. You know, if your ransomware encrypts your backups, sorry, I'm sorry. But if you do have backups and it doesn't, that's a quick way to not pay the ransom and recover fast. Make sure you test your backups though. A lot of people will be writing backups in a process or a script or an automation, and it stopped working 4 years ago, but they're like, oh, we still got backups. And then when you actually go to use them because you need them and they don't work, that's a real painful experience. I've seen that happen as well. So you should be testing your backups at least once a year, just to verify that you can actually access them. You can always call the FBI if you suffer a ransomware breach and your insurance company. That's who this is. Right here, and they can put you in contact with a cybersecurity company and kind of help you. Because realistically, you guys are in the business of whatever your business is, and this part of the world is not something you want to experience. But if you do want people who know what they're doing helping you. You definitely, I mean, you could just contact the ransomware operators themselves, but there's no guarantee they're going to give you the keys or sell your data even after they decrypt it. So your choices basically are pay the ransom or and hope that you get the keys back or rebuild. Those are your only two choices. Okay. And as I mentioned before, I don't have a long list because I stopped collecting it, but I had a list at one point of businesses that basically just go under. There was a physician's practice in California. They got ransomware and they couldn't pay the ransom. They couldn't run their business. They didn't know what appointments were scheduled. They didn't know what patients were allergic to. They didn't have access to the imaging, nothing. And they couldn't serve their clients. So they immediately stopped making money. And they didn't have enough liquidity to stay afloat in the interim. So it can sink your business. It's gross. All right. So I've given you the blueprint here on how to protect your business, what business email compromise is, what ransomware is, and what to do with it. So I hope you got some value out of this. I hope I illuminated what these threats are. I can't tell you enough. I guarantee you, if you Google ransomware right now, like news, there'll be something. Like I told you, Kia got busted yesterday. Like it happens all the time. All right. So here's my contact info if you want to follow up. I love talking about this. I love talking to people. I love helping businesses secure themselves. So I'll open it up for Q&A if anyone has any questions, but really thank you. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for giving me your attention. And I hope that this helps you in your business.
Yeah, Jerry, I think I've got to run. I know this webinar ran a little bit long. So if anyone does have questions, and there are a couple on here, but if you don't mind just reaching out to Jerry directly, as he mentioned, he'd be happy to help. Other action items, I would be happy to provide this link, this archive, if you do want to share this information with the staff at your businesses, be happy to do that. And of course, we just want to thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. And certainly if you enjoyed this webinar, part 3 of this educational webinar series for business owners in South Carolina will be held 2 weeks from today. So we're going to be looking at the 401k market and how much that has evolved for small to mid-sized business owners, and just some options that are available to you. So we would hope that you might consider joining us for that in a couple weeks. So Jerry, thank you again for taking time out of your day to share your knowledge and expertise. And we hope everyone has a wonderful weekend.
Thank you very much. Take care, everybody.